All right, everybody. Welcome to your study guide video. This test is pretty standard. Notice there's 25 line items, there's 25 questions. Um, Absolutely use notes, use the PowerPoint, use your book, and you should have zero problem finding the answer to these, okay? But just to give you some help, um, the first section is about different types of lags and their effect on policy. So there are response lags, implementation lags, um, and these are basically like how quickly or how slow policy is able to be put into place. Um, so with fiscal policy, it's a little slower because of Congress having to take action. With monetary policy, it's much quicker because they do not have to get approval to change their rate policy. So just kind of familiarize yourself with those three um, types of lags and know that generally the lag is greater for fiscal policy than it is for monetary policy. Okay. Um, let's see. So there's one about how is growth, inflation, and interest rates related to monetary policy. Okay, so if the economy is speeding up and there's a sense of inflation, then the Federal Reserve generally tries to increase uh, interest rates. And so this would be correlated with what used to be considered a decrease of the money supply. They do take action like that, but they do it different ways. And in all truth, then, this is just influencing the interest rate that banks charge each other or the interest rate that the Fed would be able to provide to banks if they needed a loan. Okay, so if there's inflation, it's usually associated with high times of growth, and that's when the Fed usually tries to make sure that we're stable in our growth. Okay, stabilization policy, right? We just want smooth growth, not necessarily like really rapid or the same thing as decline. Okay, so stabilization, we're trying to stabilize, we're trying to be stable. Multiplier effect is not instantaneous. If there's some type of fiscal outlay, it takes time for respending to occur. Okay, so then more about these lags. So really, if you can get down these three lags, then you'll be fine. There's a lot of kind of like repeat questions. Okay. Um, Now, don't get too confused. In fact, some of these line items are probably way harder than the questions themselves. So, when would economic policy be inappropriate given different policy lags? There's probably only going to be like one question, and it's going to be something like, um, if there is, if there's a crisis, um, it's going to be the case that Congress will act really quick. If there is some other type of like slowdown or something, or they don't really know where to target, okay, then sometimes there's a recognition lag, and then there's an implementation lag. And the idea is if the crisis or whatever's happening in the economy that's causing disruption, could it have resolved itself without having taken all these actions? So that's really what this conversation is about with lags. It's like, should they have used that time and energy to enact policy if the economy would have rebounded by itself? It's kind of a weird idea, but it's related to kind of old economic thinking that the economy is like almost like a self-regulating machine, you know. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case today, but that's what those questions are about. Okay. Let's see. What did the government do in terms of bailouts? Okay. They bailed out most of the banks. They did not bail out Lehman Brothers. Okay, so that might be a signal to you. And it was $700 billion. You'll see those numbers, but that's all, that's all in your text. Okay, then there was some stuff on like stocks and bonds and stuff. So this stuff is really easy. Bondholder, okay, they hold a piece of debt that a corporation issues or any entity issues, and they are entitled to coupon payments, which is essentially just like interest payment. Okay, stock, um, it is true, it is part of your, like, you own a piece of the company if you have a piece of stock. Okay, and you expect dividends. Those are payments from the corporation generally that um, pay out when profits are good. Okay, let's see. Falling stock prices change investment. Yeah, it's usually kind of a signal of a recession. Okay, so their equity, when their stock price falls, their market equity value has decreased. Okay, so generally that means that the company is not doing so well. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? How do interest rates relate to the value of the dollar now and in the future? Okay, so this is a question about inflation. Okay, so it's not going to be as tricky as this. Um, you'll see it's way more straightforward. How does the price of stock change given dividends? Okay, so if there's expected dividends, if people think the company is doing really well and they're going to get dividends, then they think that company is really valuable, and so usually the stock price is increased. Stock market crash impact wealth and consumption. Okay, well, if there's layoffs, then it's going to impact wealth and consumption. If wealth is also about your portfolio, then if there's a crash and your portfolio has stocks and bonds, then generally you're going to see a decrease in your wealth, and you're going to, it's assumed then that if you're a rational person, you would pull back your consumption. Let's see. The risk of a company impact the price of a stock. Okay, so riskier companies require higher returns. Okay, um, super safe companies, they have high value stock because there's not a risk of you losing off of it. Okay, firms can finance capital spending generally through stock issue, or they could finance it through bonds. So this test is really basic. There's nothing complicated. You just need to use all your resources, and you will be fine. Okay, take your time. I'm giving you 2 hours. It's only 25 questions, so there really shouldn't be any issue of, if you're like totally unsure of finding the right answer. So I know that's pretty quick, but it's a pretty quick exam. I think some of you will just kind of breeze by. I would take some time. It's going to be. I think it's tomorrow, Wednesday. So just get it done. I'm giving you lots of time, so don't stress too much about it, and you'll all be good. Thanks for a great semester with. It was great seeing some of you in class, and I wish you success in every way possible. And good luck out there. Okay. I wish you well.